This is the reading of How the King Came to Own Your Soul by the Mains Attraction and read by Poltergeist. This is a Danny Phantom and DCU crossover one-shot fic. The rating is teen and some tags include Soul Contracts, Ghosting Danny, and John Constantine. This is also a gen fic, meaning there are no romantic relationships, and also this is a bit of a short fic, so I hope you enjoy, and so without further ado, please enjoy the fic. Here's the summary. High King Phantom makes his first royal decree to transfer the ownership of any soul contracts that have been split up among many parties to a single entity that owned or held the largest claim on the soul. Now Danny goes through the souls he owns. And so, now, on to the actual fic. King Phantom was sitting in the office in the keep, rereading what would be his first kingly decree that was going to affect all the subjects of the infinite realms. Sure, Phantom has reread the same scroll at least 100 times already, but the young Haffa wants it to be perfect. Eventually, after rereading it several more times, Phantom signs it off with his ecto signature, making it official. Ancients, I made that way more stressful than it needed to be, he whines, leaning back in the chair he was sitting in. Just then, a pile of scrolls appears on the desk in front of him. Phantom blinks at the pile, baffled. I knew I'd end up with some sole ownership of a few contracts after this decree, but I wasn't expecting that many. With the wave of his hand, he separates the contracts between living and not. As Phantom expected, the pile for the non-living is larger. Picking up the first contract on the said pile, he sees a familiar name, which happens to be Fright Knight's. Frighty, could you come here? Of course, my liege, Fright Knight's booming voice bellows, as the ghostly knight kneels next to Phantom's seat. Your soul contract was one of the ones I had majority ownership of, so now with the new decree, I solely own it. Since me owning your soul, or not, changes literally nothing, want me to just void it? He asked with a slight head tilt, the aurora crown floating above Phantom's head slightly lagging behind the movement. Do as you wish with me, my king, Fright Knight simply replies as the knight rises to stand at Phantom's side. Phantom sighs, pinching the bridge of his nose. Fright Knight, we have talked about this. When I ask you a question, I want your opinion. You're your own ghost with likes and dislikes. Just because you have sworn to protect the High King of the Infinite Realms doesn't change that. I know one of your obsessions is serving the High King, but that shouldn't compromise your individuality. His core hums. Worry, understanding, protection. Fright Knight ducks its head, its core now radiating. Apology, understanding, individual. Of course, I apologize. I would like for you to hold onto my contract for now, my king. Phantom smiles, his core radiating. No apology, happy, proud. I can do that. Phantom goes through the other non-living contracts they now own. Fright Knight returning to its position behind its king, most of which the young king voids, not needing to own the soul of their subjects. Oh, my ancients! They begin laughing as they read over the next contract. Vlad sold his soul, and I now own it. I'm definitely keeping this contract, and I'm going to rub it in the Fruit Loop's stupid face. They cackle. Fright Knight just shakes his head fondly at its king's reactions. Phantom, still giggling, finishes going through the pile, and the last contract in it only redoubles the half of laughter. Clockwork appears, sitting or floating in one of the chairs Phantom has in his office. I see you have found my contract. Amusing. The ghost of time shifts from their oldest to their youngest form. Sorry, Clocky. I just wasn't expecting it. He finally starts to calm down. It is quite all right, Daniel. It is rather humorous. Clockwork's forms shift to their adult age. Do not void the restraints of this deal, they state in a tone that was somehow somewhere between lighthearted and warning. Phantom blinks a few more times. Okay. He looks over the contract to try and see if the details within the scroll hold any hint as to what the ancient might be implying. Phantom's pointed ears perk as he notices a detail. Oh, so the reason you had to obey their observance was because you had soul contracts with them. Clockwork nods contritely. Spitting my soul with so many ghosts was an egregiously frustrating task. Those individuals themselves made the task only more taxing to sustain, they state, before disappearing once more. This makes Phantom snort. Fair enough. He goes back to the contracts in front of him. Okay, now on to the living souls I own. Phantom pulls the 3 scrolls over to him. Opening the first one, he chuckles. Nice, so we were right. Pharaoh Dulamon did trade his soul for a few times to gain a reincarnation cycle. And Tucker is his current incarnation. Phantom pauses. Tucker probably wants these before I void it. So I guess, on to the next one. He tucks the contract into his pocket before grabbing the next contract. Phantom opens it and reads it. All right, Alfred Pennyworth, you traded your soul 4 times, too. Oh, well, that's sweet. He smiles ruefully. I'll honor it, but I probably should edit it, he nods, before humming and summoning a quill to begin editing the contract. All right, the conditions will be protection of those Alfred claims as his own. As long as it does not affect the balance of things, all parties Alfred include will be considered honorary subjects of the Infinite Realms, and gain access to a personal summon if my direct aid is needed, Phantom says, quietly as he writes, before he turns back to Fright Night, who stands behind him. Friday, you think this is worded well? And give me opinions, he asks. Fright Night sighs. I believe it is adequate for your intended purpose, my king. After all, no mortal could harm you, and no being could truly defeat you now, he says proudly. Phantom rolls their eyes fondly. Yeah, I've ascended to my purpose as the Ancient of Space. I am integral to the existence of space itself. They sign the modified contract with their ecto signature. Finally, King Phantom picks up the last scroll and opens it, and his good mood sours. How did I have the majority of the Hellblazer's soul? He pinched the bridge of his nose again. Great, just great. I own John Constantine's soul. Why is my afterlife? The young king whines, slumping over the desk, deciding he's not dealing with this right now. In the mortal world, a scroll appears in front of both John Constantine and Alfred Pennyworth. The scroll explains that the High King of the Infinite Realms made a decree to transfer ownership of split soul contracts to the entity that held the majority claim on the soul, that the new and sole owner of their souls is the High King of the Infinite Realms himself, and the scroll explains any changes to their contracts. John, of course, is panicking, while Alfred is pleasantly pleased with his modified deal, realizing just how much protection his family now has because of it. Hello, I'd just like to say thank you for listening to the end of the video. I really do appreciate it. This is just a short little fic to read between producing some longer fics. And so, if you enjoyed the video, you can leave me a like, maybe subscribe. Also, if you have a request for a fic you'd like me to read, please leave a comment to let me know. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. Until next time, this is Poltergeist, signing off.